same group.
Hold on, I didn't say anything about you all being in the same group. But remember, biology is the study of living things, and there are too many of them. Just as we discussed how the environment they live in can be categorized as a hierarchy, the same can be done for living things themselves. Millions of species call our planet home. And with this incredibly large amount of biodiversity, this presents another challenge. How do we organize all of this?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
Well, we've been learning about living things and their biodiversity for a while now. So while we share many things in common, let's say, for example, this wolf, dog, and coyote, they're actually still quite different. Scientists classify or group them with other organisms that they are most closely related to. This is called taxonomy. And scientist Carl Linnaeus organized this system like a funnel, with levels that become more and more specific as you move down the funnel from domain to kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Domain is the most broad or the least specific, which includes millions of different organisms, with species being the most specific level, only includes one type of organism. Remember how Kanye hates dressing babies during campaign meetings?
What?
So in case you forget, here's a mnemonic device. Dope Kanye produced choirs of fantastic gospel singers. He did.
Okay, Mickens.
He did.
Okay, Mr. Mickens, we will check that out.
You can come up with your own if you'd like. Now, there are 3 domains: archaea, bacteria, and eukarya. The first 2, archaea and bacteria, are so simple, just prokaryotes, and they don't have their own kingdoms, or you could consider them to be kingdoms. But unlike eukarya, which we fall into, has 4 kingdoms: plantae, animalia, fungi, which are mushrooms and molds, and then protista, includes all eukaryotes that aren't plants, animals, or fungi.
Oh, like viruses?
No, you weren't in class back then, but right now, most scientists do not consider viruses to be living things, as they require a host to survive and replicate. Check out our old video on that. Kingdoms are divided into various phyla, which are divided into classes, and so on and so forth down the funnel, becoming more and more specific until we reach the species level. Let's examine this closely using that wolf we talked about earlier. A wolf is a eukaryote, which would fall into what kingdom in this case?
Animalia?
Absolutely. And it has a spine, which drops it in the phylum Chordata. It also has fur and produces milk, so it's in the class of Mammalia for mammals. Wolves only eat meat, so it will be in the order Carnivora. And after this, we get more specific. It's in the family Canidae due to its shared traits with organisms like foxes, jackals, coyotes, and dogs. Its genus is Canis, which is more specific, only including 6 species of coyotes, jackals, and wolves. And finally, the species is Canis lupus, which the gray wolf is the only animal in that level. Its scientific name is Canis lupus, which just consists of its genus and species. We call this naming system binomial nomenclature, and this helps us to communicate scientific names across all borders and languages.
So a dog evolved from wolves?
No, not really.
So a wolf is just like the great granddaddy of a dog.
No, more like a first cousin of a dog.
More like a second cousin once removed of a dog. You know how we use family trees to show relationships between individuals? Those who are closely related are located within the same branch or the same branches compared to those who are only distantly related. In biology, we use cladograms and phylogenetic trees to illustrate relationships amongst organisms. Now, don't be surprised if people use these names interchangeably, but there are some standard differences. Phylogenetic trees have branches that represent evolutionary time and amount of change. Let's look at this one. Which organism is most closely related to the eagle? the squid or the elephant?
Well, the eagle and the squid are closer together.
Don't look at the physical proximity on the tree. You actually need to follow the branches.
Oh, well then the eagle and the elephant, right? They have a closer common ancestor than the eagle and the squid.
Right. Now here's where their common ancestor would be. We don't know what it is or what it looked like, but this is where it would be. Now, cladograms show the evolution of traits and characteristics in a way that you won't find on a phylogenetic tree. So here, what does a sponge, jellyfish, flatworm, starfish, snails, and humans, what do they have in common?
They're all SpongeBob characters?
Kind of, sort of, well, okay. Let's analyze a cladogram for this. Whenever you see a trait or a characteristic on the cladogram, all organisms that follow after it on branches to the right, that means they have that trait in common. So let's look at this one. Which organisms have cells with flagella?
Well, it looks like all of the organisms on the cladogram have cells with flagella.
You're absolutely right. Now, unlike phylogenetic trees, on a cladograms, the closer the organisms are to each other, it actually will indicate how closely related they are. So, which organisms are more closely related? Earthworms and flatworms, or earthworms and snails?
Earthworms and flatworms are both worms, so I mean they gotta be.
Look at the cladogram. Actually look at it.
Earthworms and snails are more closely related.
Right. Let's see. What trait do starfish and humans share that the other organisms on the cladogram do not share?
Their anus develops first?
Really? Really, Mr. Mickens? This is where our class has gone. This is what we're talking about now.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we are. You may look at a starfish and believe that there's nothing that could be in common between the two, except that you are both living, but evolution has taught us there are similarities found in the way our embryos develop, which is a result of the genes that we share, which code for similar proteins, which would never happen without the combination of sex cells that are the fundamental unit of all diverse living things in the various ecosystems across our biosphere. So with that being said, I mean, are you ready for your assessment?
Can we use our phone?
No. What?
What you mean? You've been teaching this course for like 3
Right,
whole
like,
years.
the lessons are only 10 minutes long, and you spend half of it talking to some imaginary camera that we don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah, like, we joined this class halfway in the middle of the course.
Shoot, less than that for me.
Thanks for watching. Support, like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate you.
That's not funny.
We don't appreciate
This
you.
is my education.
I'm about to call the principal.
There is no principal of the
There was
school.
clearly a principal that one time we had the school garden and he shut it down.
I made that up. I made all of that up.